Hello there. In this video, I'm going to give you a brief introduction on how the pagination class works. So the pagination class uses the total number of rows found and the page variable to calculate the last page of your pagination. If your query returns 15 rows, for example, and you want to display 5 rows per page or 5 results per page, then the last page will be 3 because 15 divided by 5 is 3, right? And then it uses the last page variable to generate your pagination links. And the formula for calculating the pagination link is that you define a for loop which and you set an iterator variable which starts at 1, and you say while the iterator variable is less than the last page, generate the pagination links, and you increment that iterator variable. Okay, so if the last page, in our case the last page is 3, this loop will run 3 times and it will give you 1, 2, 3. So in our case the for loop will run 3 times and it will give us 3 links. Then the paginator calculates the limit and the offset for you. The limit is the number of rows you want to display per page, and the offset is the number of rows to skip, and the offset is calculated based on the current page. So every time you click on a link, the offset will change depending on what number you clicked on. So yeah, and the offset and the limit is the engine of your pagination. Yeah, the offset calculation on the current page, and let's say the current page, let's say you click on page on link number 1 or page 1. So the offset will be current page, which is 1 minus 1 multiplied by the page variable, which is 5. So that will give us 0 because anything multiplied by 0 is 0. So that means that for page 1 we will skip 0 rows. And let's say now you're on page 2, so the offset will be 2 minus 1 multiplied by the page with the limit, which is 5. That will give us 2 minus 1 is 1 multiplied by 5. That will give us 5. So for page 2, that means that we want to skip 5 rows. We want to skip the first 5 rows for page 2. Okay, let me quickly demo this on MySQL. Okay, currently I'm like returning all the rows, and I've copied the formula for calculating the offset. So yeah, right now I'm selecting all rows from the movies table. Now let's assume that you were on page, you clicked on page 1. So the current page will be 1 minus 1. That will give you 0 multiplied by 5. That will give you 0. So for page 1, the limit will be, the offset will be 0, and the limit is the number of rows you want to display per page. Let me change that to 5, and the offset will be 0. Sorry. Okay, now this is what our SQL query would look like for page 1, and let's run it. See, we're skipping 0 rows. Now let's say you were on page 2, or you clicked on page 2. The formula will be 2 minus 1, which will give you 1 multiplied by 5. That will multiplied by 5, that will give you 5. So for page 2, the offset will be 5. So we have skipped the first 5 rows for page 2, right? And now let's say you clicked on page 3. The current page will be 3 minus 1, which will give you 2. 2 multiplied by 5 is 10. And let's change the offset. So for page 3 the offset is 10. Let's run the query and see. So yeah, that is how the pagination that is how pagination works. You have to understand the offset and the limit. The offset and the limit are the engine of your pagination. And by the way, this can be written like this. But I prefer to write it this way because I think this makes much more sense than writing it in short.